Hey, Tony.
Mr. Chairman, first item on the agenda would be the, oh wait, we didn't get the minutes.
Oh,
Were the minutes in the packet?
The minutes were sent late,
late.
so I don't know if you received them on time, in time to
I
look
did.
at them.
I did review that email. The only change that I would ask for is that I made a statement about the board, and what I was referring to was the Board of Trustees at Mount Hope Farm, and not the planning board.
Okay, we'll edit that.
And do you want to make a motion then to approve them as amended?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve as amended.
Okay, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
You don't have to do anything. Okay, Tony.
Okay, the next item is the concept plan review for,
Tony, before you begin,
okay,
Jerome would like to change the order of the agenda so that the Mountain Hope Farm continuance is first, because that would
Okay.
be a quick one.
all right, so that would be number 3, Mount Hope Farm, request for 3-month extension on the submission of the preliminary phase of the master plan application to September 11th, 2021.
May I ask, I know this was going to the Historic Commission before us. Where does that stand?
So they had a site visit about 2 weeks ago, I believe, and they will have this on their agenda for their July meeting.
Okay,
What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we grant the 3-month extension.
I'll
Do I hear
second.
a second? All in
Second.
favor?
You want to do a
Aye.
roll call? Should I do a roll call vote for Armand Biladi,
aye.
Stephen Katz,
Aye.
Chuck Millard,
Aye.
Tony Mergo,
Aye.
Jerome Squatrito?
Aye.
Thank you.
So what's the order of now?
So the next one would be number 4. The chairman would like to move up.
Number, 12 Hope Street.
Yeah.
1200 Hope
number
Street.
4, 1200 Hope Street, Longfield, status update on the project. On the project as requested by the planning board, the proposal is to renovate the historic property at 1200 Hope Street, known as Longfield, into 2 dwelling units and construct an additional 8 dwelling units on the property for a total of 10 units under the provisions of the Resource Conservation and Creative Development Overlay property located at 1200 Hope Street, Plat 103, Lot 2, zoned R10 in Historic District Overlay. Owner applicant Express Realty Trust LLC, Kyle Ritchie, manager. I saw Mr. Ritchie here somewhere.
Hello there.
Yes.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Nice to make your acquaintances. We're very excited to get involved in such an awesome project there in Bristol. Currently, we reside in Barrington and have properties in Portsmouth and now Bristol, and we're very happy to restore what we've come to know as the biggest eyesore on Hope Street. Yeah, so
Good evening as well. This is Neil Braffman from the law offices of Richard Palumbo, standing in for Jeff Garabedian and representing Mr. Ritchie, who seems to be representing himself very effectively. So I'll let him continue and chime in when I see it necessary to justify our fee.
And if I may interrupt for a moment, my name is Jules D'Alessandro. I represent the former owners of the property, and we, of course, conveyed that property to Mr. Ritchie's company on May 7th. I'm only here in the event that there are any questions of my client.
Okay, Kyle, go ahead.
yes, wonderful. And so thank you very much. And in closing in May 7th, we're getting our feet on the ground and really getting going. And the biggest, highest importance for this project in our needs is to prevent any more destruction the property. Did I lose everybody?
No, you're
Yeah.
there.
You're back.
Okay, so the damage to the property. We are property owners and believe in affordable housing. My father is a master plumber and the building trade and working for him out of college as an engineer, and really enjoy seeing properties restored, brought to life, but also renting. We have rental properties. We enjoy making sure that affordability is in a town, because without workers, there's no such thing as a town. So in this project, we see Diane, I don't know that I'm going to be able to load the video on how our vision of what we'd like to put forth and take what was on paper and really bring it to life. But
I can
if you
try to
could load
share
the
that for
video.
you. Yeah, so Mr. Ritchie has provided a brief video. I will try to share that. And
Diane,
yes,
are there changes from the existing approval?
no, this is more of a visual illustration of what was approved, but they are requesting, Mr. Ritchie is requesting a modification from what was approved, which I guess we can get to after the video plays. If I can show it, it doesn't appear that it's going. My computer's a little slow tonight, but it doesn't appear that this is loading right now, so I'll stop sharing. I think you'll have to just, keep continuing to describe what it is that you're
Yes,
asking for.
And
absolutely.
if I may speak for a moment, Mr. Ritchie has said that although the existing approval calls for a payment in lieu of providing 3 units of affordable housing, he would prefer to begin the process of actually providing those 3 units, and he has some plans that I think I'll speak to. And we wanted to find out from the board what will be the means by which the board can decide on that change, whether it's something that can be done administratively, whether there'll need to be something else scheduled and a more thorough presentation made. And we certainly want to comply with whatever you tell us to do, and to make this a win-win for the board, for the developer, and for the people who are going to live there.
Great, thanks. The aspect of affordability is, as I told you, is it kind of pulls at the coming from a hardworking family. It's very important to us to provide those affordable units. And when we saw that the expense of the 49,000, and I'm speaking in rough dollars, but the $49,000 approximate per unit expense, it really doesn't do a whole heck of a lot for anybody to get an affordable unit with that type of fee. And where we are believing in investing in Bristol, we feel that we, with the board's approval, could put to use that money into getting those units in investing it rather than expensing it on the project. This project is definitely, because of the historic nuance or the historic significance of the project, it's very important to bring it to fruition and keep in mind how beautiful it can be. And if I could only show that video that I loaded, if we were in person, I certainly would have enjoyed. But it's very important to us to make it a big an eyepiece in town, not an eyesore. So that being said, our request is that of, as our attorney has mentioned, requesting an immediate ability to start renovation on the main house, and the board to consider the additional units or the new construction units permitting as a as the second piece, as we further our affordable units in town plan. At that point in time, they allow.
We
We're
lost.
not hearing you.
No.
To
So if I can
I don't
step
know.
in while he's off mic, in speaking with Mr. Ritchie, and I think this is consistent with what the board has asked for, he's looking to initially get the permit that will allow him to work on the historic part of the property. And I know that in the decision from 2019 and going forward, the board has wanted that rather than the new units to be the pressing priority. So we're interested in complying with that and finding out what needs to be done.
Exactly. Thank you, Neil.
Can we please have anybody who's not speaking mute themselves? We're getting feedback coming from somebody.
Yeah,
So if you're not speaking, please mute yourself.
Andy, I've been muting people all night. It just seems to be persistent. I don't know why. And I see someone is on the call twice, and I think that's part of the reverberation here. So if you don't need to have two devices logged on, maybe that would be better than just have one device than both. So I just emailed you, Andy, if you can, Andy's going to try to open the video to share the video with you.
This had better be a good video with all this buildup.
what are we doing here?
Wait,
we were-
Andy.
We were waiting to see if Andy can load the video
Oh.
that Mr. Ritchie provided.
Is it the one called Project Preview link in the
Yes.
email?
Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to see if it'll download it. It leads to another link, which is downloading. So I'll be back.
In the meantime, if any of the board members or anyone else has questions or concerns they'd like to share, or perhaps we can address them.
I got a question. What affordable housing requirement are you planning on proposing to do? Is it the fee in lieu of, or is it an actual building or a part or a portion of the new buildings?
I'll let Mr. Ritchie speak to that.
Sure. Our goal is to provide, to acquire offsite units and provide them in as fast a fashion as possible to better the current unit count of affordables in the town. So our goal is not to provide fee in lieu. Our goal is to provide 3 affordable units that we would maintain and provide to the town.
So like a three-family home? Is that what you're
What
thinking?
our initial thought was multi-unit, possibly not one building, possibly multiple buildings with one unit in each building or something of that nature, but that has not been flushed out completely. And but yes, the quickest and easiest, but to the highest standard, because we don't want to we want to better the town, not put any detriment there.
And I think Mr. Ritchie intends to have some presence in Bristol going forward and wants to create and maintain a good reputation among the town government and among the general population.
I've got the video working, I think, Diane, if I can share the screen.
I just made you the co-host, Andy, so you should be able to share it.
Okay. So, start broadcast. Okay, and we gotta go over to here, download. Are you seeing this about big black square?
Yes,
About-
Yes.
Okay, here we go. You see it and hear it?
yes.
This is what they wanna Nice
Okay.
film.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely see it as a very, it, being Live Longfield is gonna, we see it taking on its own and, living, putting together the best possible solution for the site. And that was applying the plans and putting our little flavor on it with our designer.
No. I wish you fulfilled that duty. Looks
Well,
beautiful.
That's our goal. We'd like to get started on the main building right as soon as we possibly can, with your permissions.
So I guess probably what we would be looking to come out of this is what the next steps would be, the timing, whether there's something we can come back to you in 3 months or whatever you determine to try to adjust the approvals in a way that everyone can agree to.
My question, you're looking to start the renovation of the existing building,
Yes, sir.
which is part of the the approval.
Yes, sir.
Then you'd like to start the other buildings before providing the 3 units?
No, after.
Okay, thank you.
We'd like to get so the only nuance in the approval process is allowing us to get the permit on the initial main building to get that project underway and to start making the site where it needs to be. And with that initial main building, and then from there, provide the 3 units and then get the permits on the additional 8 units for better clarity.
I think that's already in here, Diane, isn't it?
There was
So,
a timing that required the first of the 2 units within the original building. And then before all the others are done, the second unit within the original building. So it was, I think, trying to keep anyone who developed it from just putting up new stuff and not getting what the board is primarily interested in, the renovation of this historic building.
Right. Now, when are you gonna come out with the low affordable housing? And what section?
Do you have a specific neighborhood or property in mind?
No, like I'm saying, you're gonna say the house is completed.
Mhm.
When the main house is completed,
Yes, sir.
when are you gonna say about the low affordable housing?
Oh, so our goal in this project is to, with your approvals, is to get started on the main building, and then rather than the fee in lieu, go right away to look to grow find the affordable units, fix them up or repair or whatever, and then put them on record so that the town, they're in place for the residents in town, and then get the other permits for the 8 additional units on the property.
All right, so
Is that in 3 buildings or 4?
I'm trying to understand.
I think he means the 8 new units on the 1200 Hope site.
Yeah, so everything on Hope Street, because of the design and the importance of keeping with the historic, the pricing and whatnot would not allow the feasibility to provide on-site
No, I think he's asking those new buildings that are the 8 units, how many buildings would add up to those 8 units?
Correct.
Oh, so the approval has 3 units, a 4-unit building and then 2 2-unit buildings. That is the 8 units.
Okay, all right, 2 3s and what, once again, tell me what
So
the,
the approval as it stands is 2 duplexes, 2 2-unit buildings in the back, as in the video, and 1 4-unit building on the south side of Longfield.
So 3 additional buildings
That's
besides in the main house. So
That's correct.
4 buildings altogether on the property.
That's
Okay.
correct.
all right, I got it.
That's what we had originally, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so, Jerome. I think if I read this correctly, the only changes that the applicant is trying, the new applicant now is trying to make to what we already agreed to, is to get a permit to start working on the Longfield house by itself. Number 2, they would go in and build 3 affordable units somewhere in the town
All right.
without paying a fee. And then once that is done, then they would come to us or come to Diane for a permit to build what we had already agreed that they could build.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's how I'm understanding it.
So,
I think the applicant also agrees with that.
so
And that's correct. And the decision that you granted at final stipulated that at the time it was a payment of the affordable housing fee in lieu of providing the units, and the condition was that would be paid prior to the issuance of any building permits. So that's the modification specifically that they're asking for, is that they, 1, do the construction, which I think has always been the board's preferred solution to that, and then to do it in a sequence so that they can get the building permits on the historic house first.
Right.
Yep. So based on that, I think it's a great idea. I'm good with the change.
So
Do I hear a motion?
I got one more.
I mean, does anybody else want?
May I speak before the board?
Yes, yes.
Considers a motion?
Jerome, before you entertain this, gentleman, he is the previous owner of this property. This is not a public hearing, so I just want to caution you, there's, and Andy maybe can chime in. I just
My
don't want to
understanding
get,
was a public hearing.
no, it's not a public hearing. It's a status update The board had granted an extension until December of 2021, subject to a status update report in June, because the hope was that it wouldn't take till December to find out an update, so.
Right.
Understood.
And this is Andy Tice. I also want to follow up. I don't think, Jerome, we need a motion. They're just here. They've given the status report. And I think you've given them the feedback that you're amenable to amending the conditions
Right.
for replacing the fee with actual affordable units. And they need to come in now with a formal application for that, which will probably be considered a minor modification, but will, Diane, probably still be referred to the planning board for action as a minor modification. Is that correct? Or
Is it possible that I can speak to the matter, please?
what is it you want to speak to about? Mr.
And I would
Delacour?
object on grounds of standing and the nature of this meeting that the gentleman has a dispute over the fee paid for the property that's more in the nature of an interpleader, where there's another forum that could decide that, and he's no longer somebody in the title. So I would ask that.
I just want to make sure that the board's aware that there's ongoing litigation challenging the transfer of the title, and that Mr. Ritchie has disclosed that and made you aware of it.
It's
And
my
I suggest the
understanding that
board
there was.
suspend any decision until the outcome and resolution of that litigation.
Mr. Redmond, the planning board, thank you for your comments, but the planning board has no authority over ownership issues. The applicant before us has a deed with the property into them. If you have litigation and you want to stop this process, you're going to have to get a judge to issue a stay. If this board's presented with a stay from a court, we'll certainly not go forward with it. As it
Thank you,
stands
thank you,
tonight,
thank you, thank you, thank you, and understood.
Okay, and as it stands tonight, I just want to make it clear that we're not actually doing anything at all anyway. It was a status update. We've heard from the board, from the applicant. The board has given its comments. None of that is binding. It's when they'll come back for a modification, and that will be before the board at a later date.
Okay, very good. Thank you, understood. And will that modification hearing be a public hearing?
Probably not. Assuming that it's a minor modification, it probably will not. It could be done administratively, but even if it goes to the board, it will be a public meeting, but not necessarily a public hearing.
Okay, but I'm just stating that it is public record that there is ongoing litigation, and I wanted to make sure the board understands that.
That's fine. And if there's anything that involves the board, I'm more than happy to accept service of process.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask one more question before we vote on this.
Sure.
To Mr. Ritchie, would you be willing to, I know you want to work on the building, you want to complete it, but before you're issued a CO, would you be willing to fulfill your affordable housing obligation before you're issued a CO on on the building that you want to work on?
Yeah, with the timetable, yes, that would fall in the timetable that we would be interested in. And that would be a reasonable request, in my opinion.
Okay, that way there we make sure that, that you're going to fulfill your obligation.
Absolutely. Affordable housing in our eyes is definitely a benefit to everybody including us.
Okay, I'd like to make that part of the motion if possible.
So
I understand from Mr. Tights that we're not voting on anything this evening, but I would like to find out the timing and the procedure for submitting the application that was mentioned.
Oh, well, as far then as part of the amendment.
Right.
I hear it, and we will take that into account as we present it, and I'm grateful for the input.
Diane, do you want to comment at all on the timing?
Yes, so it seems to me that that the board is believes that this would be a minor modification, but that they would want to be reviewing it at the next meeting. We don't have an application for it. it wasn't actually on the agenda. It was meant, tonight was more to get the consensus of the board on the process. So if an application comes in and it is found to be a minor modification, I think that could be approved at the next meeting if it comes in on time. The board doesn't meet in August. So
About July.
July would be the next meeting. If you were to find that it is a major change, which I've given you a copy of the regulations to have for your review. I don't see this as a major change. But if you made a finding that it was a major change, then it would have to have a public hearing, go through the process as if it was a preliminary phase application. So as a minor modification, it could be approved in one meeting.
How about if it's a minor operation, can you approve? Administration,
I can, and I can also refer it to the board for your
no,
input.
I mean, like I said, I think this project's been going on. So I don't know, good 3 or 4 years now. It seems like now it's finally getting on the road.
Yeah, no
And,
way.
to prolong it any longer, I think it's stupid. That's my opinion. And I'm only one vote, but I would bring it up to the board that I would have administration approval.
Yeah, Jerome, I agree with you. I think, my read of the regulations, it is a minor change. And secondly, I would agree that Diane could administratively approve.
I'd go along with that too.
Yeah, just like make sure I understand. We can issue a permit for the existing building.
Right.
And they can, before any new buildings are constructed or permitted, we have to resolve the issue of the affordable housing property.
Correct.
I'm okay with that too.
Yep.
I would ask Mr. Tights if we can then at least have a vote on to the effect that this can be approved administratively by Diane. By Ms. Williamson.
Right, I think the motion would be to recommend
Recommended,
to the administrative officer that this be a minor change, which she can approve administratively.
I agree. I'll make that motion.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification? I thank you for that, and I just want to be clear because Tony, I think, had brought up a different criteria for, I think, Tony, you were asking that the CO not be issued until the 3 affordable units are proposed, and but then I heard others say that we would hold the new building permits for the 3 affordables to be built. So could you just clarify what you're looking for, Tony?
Well, yeah, I had said before, CO was issued that they would finalize their affordable obligation fulfillment.
So for that, do you mean that they would finalize what their proposal is?
Yeah,
And then, so as a condition of the CO, we would know exactly where the 3 affordable were going to be. And then
either be
CO
built, either be built or, if they're gonna buy existing properties, I'm not sure exactly what their plan is. I don't know if they know exactly right now, but
I think the question, Mr. Murgo, is do you want to see the plan or do you want to see the units, the affordable units actually ready for occupancy? What's the preceding condition before they get the certificate of occupancy for the 2 units in the main house?
yeah, I would like to see them, either a solid plan of what they're gonna do or or ready to move in, one or the other.
Well, that's a
Okay.
big difference.
Yeah,
That's
then
either
you're
or.
okay with a plan, is what you're saying.
Well, I mean, do we want to let them continue to build without them
No,
actually.
I think it was clear. We said no building permits for the new buildings until that's resolved.
Okay,
But I don't think the CO had anything to do with it.
Yeah,
okay,
no, I agree. I think all they're asking for is a permit to fix the existing Longfield home. Secondly, they wanted our blessing to either buy or build 3 affordable homes, then obtain permits to
Right.
build
Right.
the new properties that we had already agreed to. That's
Right.
it. That's it.
Okay, that's fine. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that that was clear. And that does follow what you had. Because if they never build anything else, we've got the 2 units of Longfield that were there and they're restored. And so if no affordable
Right.
houses and no new ones are built, we're still better off with having Longfield restored.
Right.
That's exactly the way I see it, Andy. Yes.
Okay,
I agree.
all right.
Do we need a vote on this?
A vote on the recommendation to Diane
Right,
that you find that it's a minor change and authorize and recommend that she issue the minor change administratively.
And I'll make that motion.
do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I'll second that.
All right,
Um,
roll call, you're
roll
gonna,
call vote. Thank you so much. Armand Biladi,
Aye.
Stephen Katz,
Aye.
Chuck Millard,
aye,
Tony Mergo,
Aye.
Jerome Squatrito.
aye,
Thank you.
good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr.
Good luck.
Scorpito, I believe we have
Good
a
luck.
big tree that you gave my wife when
You're
your
gonna need it.
son Steve lived next to us in Barrington.
But before we end up on this, Mr. Redmond, and Mr. Alexander, if you, as you've heard, this will not be coming back to a meeting of the board. So if you have anything from the courts or anything like that, you should reach out to me. You should contact me on behalf of the board, because when the application comes in, it will be approved administratively without coming back to a public meeting.
That's fine. My attorneys will be in contact with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Ms. Williamson, we'll call you in the next couple of days on the timing and the requirements that you'll have so we can get this done as efficiently as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate the consideration by all of the board. Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, Tony,
Okay, concept plan review for / pre-application major land development for the redevelopment of the Robin Rugg Mill to be known as Bristol Beyond Mill at 125 Thames Street for 151 residential apartment units and approximately 6,300 square feet of leasable space for commercial uses. A proposal also includes a request for an amendment to the original change of zone conditions. The redevelopment includes the existing building and property located on the west side of Thames Street, along with the existing parking lot, which will remain as parking on the east side of Thames Street. The property is zoned waterfront planned unit development with conditions and within the Bristol Historic District, Plat 10, lots 42, 68, 41, 44, 62, 61, 73, 60, 43, 49, 74, and 76. Owners Russ Realty Company and Carrion Realty Company. Applicant Brady Sullivan Properties LLC.
Mr. Reynolds, would you like me to allow you to share your screen?
Yes, please.
I guess you're just Chris on here, right?
Yes,
Just Chris.
just
Okay.
Chris.
Just Chris. All right, you are now the co-host. You can share your screen.
All right, thank you, Diane. How you doing? I'm Chris Reynolds, project manager for Brady Sullivan Properties. I'd like to thank everybody for the last week and a half. We've been introducing this project to everybody in the town. We had a TRC meeting last Tuesday with a couple of planning board members and the department heads, got good feedback from there. This last Saturday, I hosted a tour at American Tourister had about 8 people through. We were able to show people kind of what a finished mill would look like. It's very similar. Sometimes it's tough to show things in a rendering or even a movie like the previous applicant, which I thought was great. We're able to show people the Torreston Mill. We also have another meeting, another visit this coming Saturday for whoever that didn't make it and would like to attend, 2 to 4 this coming Saturday. We also had a meeting, a site walk this last Tuesday. We had about 22 people through the mill. I thought it was very productive. People could kind of see the challenges and how big the mill was. We were a little, tight for time because of starting at 7 o'clock. And if anybody ever wants to go through again or, would like to walk it, I'm available at any time. So with that, I just wanted to go over our concept plan that we are proposing. As many of you are familiar, this is the current Robin Rugg facility on the water. It's a historic building. It also includes the redevelopment of the parking lots across the street. Just wanted to highlight some of the questions that were asked to me through the tours. Wanted to bring up, I think this is a great map that shows the different times that the buildings were built through time. And I think that's, on Thames Street alone, as we stood there in front of the tour, it looks like all one big building right at the front. But as you go to the backside, you can really see the differences and some of the challenges there. This was built in the 1940s, the middle building the 1850s, and really built through different times, 1920 for this building, 1900s. And you could feel that when you walk through the buildings because it was different types of construction, different types of materials, different column layouts, different window sizes, really a combination of a little bit of everything. And, one of the challenges of redeveloping this size of property is to make it all feel one, as one complex that's uniform, that makes sense, that is good to the residents and good for the community. And I think American Tourister really does show that well, of when you take that many different buildings and try to make something out of it. I'll start off by just kind of going through the overall development scheme for this project. If anybody has any questions, mid through, please feel free to break in. This one-page plan, I think, is helpful to see. One of the challenges of this project is, and as we walk through the buildings, every building has a different floor height and a different elevation. So really, when you're on the 4th floor, 3rd floor, different buildings, it was kind of challenging. This map tries to help show it a little easier than what it actually is, but I think is a good representation. On the bottom floor, we will have parking. All right. The only building that we're going to be demolishing is the current block building over here in the current courtyard. We feel this accomplishes a couple of different aspects. Is once we demo this building, you'll be able to see the Harbor Master building, which is a beautiful stone building. We feel this will be a beautiful exterior courtyard bounded by this stone building, and really kind of open it up again for that. These are exterior parking spots, which is 31 of those. Everything else that you see here is 139 spots. You will enter it through 2 different access. This is off of Constitution, reusing the existing garage doors that exist on the property now. We'll have ins and outs. We'll have to, relocate some columns and do some work to make this happen. This is the giant mill that we had walked into. This is the area that we kind of peeked our head through that had no lights or visible. This also is parking. Now, one of the challenges, again, is the different heights and access. So we also have a second entrance that will only connect, a second and a third entrance, which will connect to these 2 areas. And it's really just the grades of trying to make all that to work. One of the things as we'll go through, and again, this is only concept, we'll also have bike storage and some motorcycles. There's a lot of nicks and areas that you'll find as we kind of develop this to reuse it. I think one of the areas that most people saw was the bike storage at American Tourister, which I think is a great feature, and you can see the ton of bikes there. The shaded areas is basement areas that we propose to remove the existing floor and fill in. So this way we don't have any basements that are not parking, and none of those issues with a basement, any musty smells or anything like that. Get rid of all that, fill that in, get back to a level grade. And that really kind of takes us to this first floor. This first floor in this area is in a floodplain. So, and as well as the basement. So the only proposed uses in that area would be commercial spaces, parking, and amenity / offices. This yellow area is our proposed commercial area. It's about 6,300 square feet. The green is our amenity and leasing offices. One of the things, as I mentioned, one of the challenges is obviously this building was not built to current codes and ADA standards and those challenges that we, need to meet with the building code. So our thought process is by when we remove this floor, we can come off of Thames Street at a lower elevation for handicap accessibility, keep this area lower, and then have a nice ramp up to the commercial space to kind of get these grades levels to work, as well as handicap access. The green is our typical amenity package. As most of you saw at American Tourister, it usually includes a game room, workout room, community room, something for all the residents to use. It will be just for the residents. This is our leasing office. That will be staffed by Brady Sullivan Properties for leasing and maintenance of the buildings. The yellow area, as I mentioned, is the commercial space, which will probably be, I would guess, as American Tourister, more professionals in there. We have 9 tenants over there, which includes a dentist, architect, Pilates, kind of a professional, type of tenant. And we kind of envision that here as compared to a more, not a traditional retail tenant as much. As we kind of go up the floors in the building and get out of the floodplain, as I mentioned, as we walk, the real key to our redevelopment is, we are a historical renovation contractor, apartment builder. We've got 9 projects, 9 mills similar to this in Rhode Island alone, many others in Mass and New Hampshire. And to work well with historic societies is not to demo any of the historic buildings, really reuse and repurpose what is there. So that's really what you see here. The way we came up with the number of units is we didn't hit a target number. We didn't try to hit a certain, threshold to do this project. We laid out and we spent some time laying out the units to see what the building makes sense for this project. And that's really what we did. And you can kind of see that layout. And I think as you were walking the areas, it was really trying to figure out the best unit mix for each of these buildings. And they're very different. The big building to the left is a corridor kind of as a T, taking advantage of all the windows on the outside. As you get to these smaller width buildings, we'll have a single loaded corridor and units on the outside, right? The challenges is trying to get stairwells, elevators, and all those types of things where people need to move in, make it easy to use their apartments. We've got proposed 3 elevators, one here into an existing shaft, another one here, and a third one here. Again, you see it spaced out throughout. We have, we'll have a new stairwell. One of the problems I think in this mill right now is there's really poor access throughout this property in terms of stairwells and means of egress and things like that. So we'll be adding some new stairwells. Like right now, there only exists 1 stairwell in this area, and it's for only 1 floor from the 4th to the 3rd. So we'll be doing some renovations like that to get to make sure it is a safe building. Obviously, it'll be sprinklered. as well. Again, as you go up, the difference is, you know, the floor heights and floor area. Obviously, most of the times everything stacks, as you can see, that's why it looks similar. And then the final fourth floor in this area. In total, we have 151 units. Parking, as I mentioned, is inside the building or in this exterior courtyard, as well as across the street. We have 133 spots across the street
Is that,
in this
you got
current conceptual
133,
layout. 133 across the street,
right, and
then we got
170 inside?
139 inside, 31 exterior over in this area. So
What-
altogether, we'll have about 303 spots.
What's the size of the spots, parking cars? Is it compact or is it,
No,
it's regular cars?
no, we don't, I don't know.
SUV?
No, it would be a traditional spot. I mean, again, it's only concept in nature, but I don't think the plan isn't to be compact. And obviously that'll get fleshed out a little bit more as we continue on and get a survey and do some more design, but so altogether, we have approximately 303 spots for 151 units, almost 2 spots per. The commercial area on this first floor, which again will usually be more professional businesses. So those parking spots will be traditionally used more during the day. So you can kind of have a little bit of that overlap and still be okay, which is we found at American Tourister and other places that we have that. That's you know, some of the other features that we've discussed kind of on the tour and people have asked me. This area back here, we plan to do a boardwalk, and back here. We haven't really figured out what this there's not a lot of land back there, but obviously we'll be looking to do something, some sitting areas or something like that as we develop these plans further. This is the area of the proposed town marina. This area is the Elks property. So any boardwalk that we would do would end in this area, any walkway or anything that we do. Well, obviously, we can only control our property. I think that's my quick overview. I can glad to take any questions or any comments.
You don't have anything to do with the roof, right? You don't have any intentions of doing anything on the roof?
So, as I
Oh,
discussed with Chuck, I personally would love to see, we don't plan to do any penthouses or anything like that we did at American Tourister. I would love to see personally, this is my personal preference, is some sort of roof deck or something like that out in this area. This is an absolute unbelievable view. And you can see it from some of the windows. You know, I think if we could work out, creating a roof deck would be a great amenity for the residents. We've done that at US Rubber in Providence, and you have an unbelievable view of the city and the State House. So if it would work out, we've done it at other projects, and I think it would look fantastic here. But right now, we haven't really got to that stage of development. But no new units on the roof or anything like that. The only thing that would be ever done on a roof is a roof deck for residents to gather.
any questions from the board?
Yeah, I have none. I don't have any.
Yeah. Nothing that, Mr. Chairman, this is Brian Clark, nothing that can't be addressed later down the road. I mean, obviously, there's questions about access from the parking onto Constitution and traffic counts and, implications to the neighbors and things like that, but that's stuff that can all shake out later on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, conceptually, it's a good plan, but yeah, as we go through the process, will have questions.
So this is Diane, just on the traffic, if you are requesting that a traffic study be submitted at the master plan, which I think is what you're looking for, I just want to make
I'm
sure.
not necessarily asking for a traffic plan. I just, it's a tight, that's the tight end of Thames Street, and then we're adding potentially 300 people there. So,
Right.
there's going to be an impact of some sort, I'm sure.
I think that's a reasonable request to a traffic study.
Think it's just part of this meeting is to give the developer guidance on what the board will want to see to make an informed decision when it comes back to you at master plan. So that's why I'm just asking if there's anything that you think you'll need in addition to the normal requisites that we get. Just, please let me know or state it tonight so that the developer can hear it as well.
Yeah, so I would say, Diane, thank you. I would say, just based on some of the correspondence that I've seen from residents in the town, I think we want to have the developer address certain things like the parking that's currently a dirt lot, and how that's going to be managed, what kind of lighting would be there, how that might affect the neighbors, the abutting neighbors. I think we want to hear, is 151 units it? Is there something reasonably less than that? I think we want to hear some different options on this.
I'm a little confused on the parking. 8 years, 2008, when this came in front of us, they get all different kind of numbers, but the number was 94 units. And the parking was underneath the garage on the bottom floor, plus the lot across the street. Now, we're going with 151 units and the same parking. That's why I asked what size parkers, what size is the parking spaces? So that's the only thing that's confusing me, because people that are going to purchase or rent this are not going to have VWs. It's all going to be big cars. So it's not the normal parking spot. So that's something you got to work on. And number two, I'm puzzled about how do you rent these places? By the week, by the year, or purchasing it? I haven't even
Typically, it would be a yearly rental.
yearly rental.
Nope, it would be apartments. It would be typically a yearly rental. A lot of times, we do a 2 months free with a year lease. So typically 14 months for that first
And
lease. And we
why
find that
good-
once people get in, they like it.
how about what's the age limit on this? Are you coming in with an age? Are
We
we
are not.
going to give it to 15-year-olds, 20-year-olds, what?
We do not discriminate against.
All right, you answered me. That's enough.
Okay.
Chris, what's your plan for affordable housing requirement?
So we would be looking to follow the current approved zoning amendment. We would be due payment in lieu at 10% of the affordable, 10% of the units.
I don't agree on that. Because you put this application 208 and you dropped it. That's when it was 10%. Now it's 20%. And if you have a new application, that's what you should be doing, is 20%, unless the town council approves by going back to 10%. That's me. I mean, we're talking about a new contract, a new application. And now if you're going to get with a new application, so you come with this date, and the date states now by Rhode Island is 20%. I like this project. I do like it, even though I'm maybe knocking you down on some stuff, but it's something that you can have the whole cake. You got to give us half of it. And it seems like we want to give you everything. I don't know. Shut up.
I do think, Jerome, that it's something that the town needs to sort of come to.
Right.
We need to understand what, how we can.
If the town wants to give them 10%, then we have nothing to do about it. But if we're gonna go by rules and regulations, then it's 20% now.
20% of 151 units is pretty unreasonable to expect it to go.
Well, why did they put it up to 20%, Chuck?
Well, I think it was 20% on your average development, 20 houses, 30 houses, whatever, not 151 rental units.
I know. Well, they gotta refine that. It can't.
That's just my opinion, Jerome.
I know, me too. Well, my opinion is, if it's over 100 rooms, 100 condos, you bring down the number. But it's got to be said this way. So when we have something like this, it automatically comes in. Somebody builds 50 units and we're going to nail them for 20%, that's 10. A man comes in with 151 and he's only going to get 15. This is the only thing. I don't care if it's 2, but are we following the laws? It seems like the laws are being I don't know.
I'll leave that up to the solicitor to interpret.
Yeah. I have a quick question, Chris. Just ballpark, what is the total dollar value of this development?
In terms of construction,
It's all in. Ballpark. I don't need it to be, I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire. I'm just.
it's probably a $20 million development.
Okay. So getting back to the affordable thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of aligning myself with Chuck Millard on this one. I mean, it's been a maintained property for years. I wouldn't say blighted, but everybody's wanted to see something done here.
Oh, me too.
Well, I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that we have a capable development team and, that wants to do this. And I want to make sure that major issues are addressed. But I think we need to do what we can to help this along as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not sure that if it's 151, if 30 is reasonable. I think that's unreasonable. I'm not sure that 15, I don't know what the number is. Maybe it's 17, maybe it's 20, maybe it ultimately, I think it is a town council decision on what they would recommend, but
right.
Yeah, I think 30 is unreasonable.
Chris, how many affordables did you have to do at the US Rubber in Providence? They similar to Bristol?
None.
None.
They viewed, obviously not, there's not a lot of people that would take this kind of substantial investment into these mills. The mills are a lot more expensive to build because of the challenges. And that's why you've seen this project and many other projects now without tax credits here on anymore. Once the state tax credits have gone away, which was 20%, that helped to build a lot of these projects. And now that state tax credit is gone, it's really difficult due to the investment and to do these types of projects. And that's why you see, I mean, this is a beautiful building, beautiful area, and it hasn't ever been done anything. And I think, you know, it's different than just new construction where you can make small units, you can do what you want. And you know, that even American Tourister didn't have any.
Yeah, I thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Andy, what do you think? I mean, you know the law on this. How can we be advised on this?
I think that it is going to be, right now, they can't get what they want with what they want. Their zoning ordinance, the zoning amendment doesn't allow more than 97 units. So,
Right.
or 94, whatever the number is. So they have to go to the council for an amendment if this is what they want. And I think that will be part of the decision of the council. And obviously, a zoning amendment will come to the planning board for your review and recommendation to the council and your findings of consistency with the comp plan. So I would think that is the time when you're going to discuss it and decide what you'd recommend. This is just a concept plan review at this point. I think it's good that you're expressing your concerns with the developer, that there's not enough, that 10% is not enough. But what the actual number is, we'll have to wait to a later stage.
Thank you.
10% doesn't sound like much, but when you say 15 units, you know, 15 affordables, that sounds like quite a bit to me. Anyway, Chris,
Just for context, 10% is the minimum because you're required by state law, as far as the goal that Bristol is trying to get to is the goal that's set for everyone by state law is 10%, which we're not there yet. So if you don't have 10%, you're actually going to go backwards. So 10% is what you need just to stay even at your current number. And then you need more than 10% if you want to get closer to your goal.
Chris, what's the plan for the creating the boardwalk along the water?
I'm sorry, what was that exact question? You cut out a little bit.
What's the plan for the boardwalk?
We haven't at this stage, to be honest, that, you know, just concept review, we haven't really studied that or looked at it at all.
Okay, that is part of the plan though, right?
Yeah, that is a part of the plan. Yeah, I mean, we as at American Tourister, you saw the walkway all along throughout, and we'd envision something like that. Obviously, one of the beautiful things to be able to walk from Independence Park and to go through and continue that on here. So we envision that here. That'll be an important piece to CRMC as well, is public access to it. So yes, we definitely envision something like that.
Okay, thanks.
And that boardwalk would be kind of at the quality and scope of what you'd find in front of Stone Harbor. At least that's what our board would probably be looking for. So just keep that in mind.
Okay, thank you.
So Diane, what would be their next move now after tonight?
So the next step would be the master plan phase application. I don't know, Chris, if you're gonna do another iteration of concept plans. I mean, we will meet in concept with you as often as we need to, and as long as you want to keep it in concept. But the next step would be the master plan submission. The master plan submission will also trigger a public informational meeting, and everyone within the radius will get notified. And that will be a public meeting where the public will be invited to speak. I do see we have a hand raised tonight, but there is no public comment tonight. This is informational for the planning board. And as I just mentioned, when it gets to the next phase of review and then the subsequent preliminary phase, that will be when the public comment is accepted, in addition to the town council public hearing on the zone change, which will also be considered. And I think, Chris, what you might want to do is submit to the planning board for master plan and file the zone change application simultaneously. Because when the planning board makes a recommendation on the zone change, they really like to see, the project in the detail that lets them consider the zone change and have the information in terms of what you're asking for in the zone change with a more, refined master plan application. I don't know, Andy, if you chime in, if you think that's the best course of action is to file the master plan and the change of zone simultaneously.
Yes, I mean, because of the three-step process under state law, it's basically not just the best plan, but the legally required plan. So that would be the step: file your master plan application for the project along with your request for the zone change. If, it's only master plan, so you're not going to have all of the details with sewer and drainage and so forth. But and if there are any other things on the checklist that you don't think are appropriate, you can request waivers for providing them at the master plan stage, considering it's a multi-part process. But as the administrative officer has indicated, it would be good to be as detailed as possible.
It comes to us for master plan prior to the council making any decisions?
Yes. And then you would, at that point, you would, if you do grant master plan approval, it's granted conditioned among whatever other conditions you have. It's also conditioned upon the requirements of getting the town council approval.
Right.
And then separately and apart from that, you would give a recommendation to the town council on the zone change.
All right. Now, as I understand it, the zone change that was made 12, 13 years ago was more than, there were other exceptions as well, right? It wasn't just a zone change. There were other considerations.
Yes, there were more, not just the affordable. There were lots of considerations. I think, for example, the requirements for commercial space are greater than what they're proposing. I think they're going to be asking to provide less commercial space than was in that original zone change.
I would just like to know if we can get that information at master plan, exactly what the differences are from the zone change and the other exceptions the council made, so that we make a reasonable recommendation to them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you'll have copies of all the old stuff in front of you when they come back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there was actually a zoning ordinance amendment to rezone this property, which I believe would have to be modified as well. I'll have to talk to the solicitor about that. So yes, Armand, we'll need all those details so we understand what the changes are to be going forward. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, Diane, would it make more sense to get the zoning amendment first, so then the planning board would know what rules to that, because obviously it's tough to do a master plan if we're not quite sure what rules we have to follow. Obviously if they change the density to something that would affect what the master plan would affect, the planning would affect parking, would affect obviously a trickle down effect on everything. Would it make more sense to get the zoning amendment so we would know what the rules are for this and, come back with an actual master plan based upon whatever findings of the town council with the zoning amendment?
I don't believe that's how we've processed these previously. Usually the planning board, in order to get the recommendation to the town council, the planning board needs information to be able to make an informed decision. So if they have to make a recommendation and they're not quite sure, say what impact, if any, the 151 units might have, then they're kind of doing it without what they need. Andy, again, chime in if I'm misspeaking any of this, but I believe we've always had the master plan with the zone change so that the board can, make the recommendation based on considering everything associated with what you're asking for.
Yeah, again, it's what we required, but it's also we require it because it's what state law requires.
Okay.
There's actually a Supreme Court case out of Tiverton that dealt with that, where a zone change application, but they did not have the master plan and they did not have the started in properly. So
And I'm not sure,
required to have.
if I may, I'm not sure that when that zone change was put into effect and the other exceptions that were granted was not based on what we originally recommended. So that's kind of where I was coming from.
That's exactly right, Armand. In fact, if you look at the zone change, you provided a really detailed report to the council at the time. I think it might have been 4 or 5 pages of findings and recommended conditions based on the master plan application. And those were actually incorporated in their entirety into the town council's decision and attached. Your memo is actually attached to their zone change. So it really is important to present to the board everything that they need to assess the project in order to make the recommendation or a recommendation. The one I had a question, if I may. I assume that you're going to be providing like renderings of the building, and I know there isn't much facade changing because of the historic building and so forth, but I assume you'll do like a rendering of the facade of the building, and I was even thinking a rendering of the back where the boardwalk is, so that you can visualize how that's going to look from the water. Is that something that I'm assuming you were going to present that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, good. And the parking lot, I think also to add to that request, the parking lot as well. I think that's I think somebody brought it up earlier that's a change in the neighborhood aside from the mill, which is not changing, but the parking lot to the east is something that's going to be different. So any renderings or visual mapping that you can provide so that everybody can get a sense of what that will look like, I think that would be very, very helpful.
Okay.
Diana or Andy, the plan that they submitted right now, would that be enough for us to look at to make a recommendation to the town council? So
No.
No,
I mean, it would not meet the requirements for master plan.
It's not that far off, but there are a few more things, and also they haven't actually given you an application for master plan, so
Right.
they have to actually make the application.
Right, as they indicated, I mean, I think probably a big thing is they've indicated is they've got to do surveying. They need to confirm their own dimensions. They've laid out parking. I think we saw there were a lot of poles in that parking lot. Can they really fit all the parking spaces they want around the poles or not? There's a lot of stuff like that affects what you're doing, because obviously you care how many parking spaces there are, but they need more information and then they need to provide it to you.
okay.
One of the other things that is required, and I think it would be very helpful, is a fiscal impact study or fiscal impact statement. It is required for major land developments of over 20 units, but I think it's something that would be very helpful for the board to, that's the sort of thing that it helps to, have that information available to the board. And then we talked a little bit about the traffic study, and then the parking management, as well as, the rendering, the parking management, how that's what the operations are and so forth, things like that. I know that the trash and recycling will be private. I know all the snow plowing will be private. So that's another thing to kind of reaffirm in your application. Just again, that was, all helpful information for the board to have.
Just as an example, I mean, I think you just, Andy mentioned it about the poles and posts and everything else. And Jerome discussed the parking. As you know, my history has been that I don't get bent out of shape very much about a 9-foot parking space and a single stripe versus a double stripe. That's not something that pushes me one way or the other very far. However, I would like to know if, how many more you're getting or how many less you get if you follow the existing ordinances. I think that's helpful information.
And it's not like they're asking for 10% over what they're zoned.
Correct.
There's a significant increase in density here that we really need to look at very carefully.
So you'd rather see 10-foot spots instead of 9-foot?
No. I'm saying it doesn't move me one way or the other, but I would like to know what extra you're getting. Could be, Jerome has mentioned this. Gee, we didn't have that many parking spots last time. How did we get 50 more parking spots this time inside the building? So I just like to know what that difference means. And I understand some of the constraints and so on, but I'd like to know what the differences are.
I think I can help you with that, Chris. I think we can look at the previous plan and just kind of what the delta is on some of these between the previous plan, what is proposed. And
Okay.
is that because of you've laid it out differently? Or is that because you're asking for more relief? Or is that because you're including areas that weren't included before? I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. They just need some clarity around that. And I can help you do that too with the plan from previous years.
Okay,
And-
yeah, I haven't really ever studied the older plan or looked at the older plan, so
Right.
That's fine.
Right. So there's almost like 3 columns on the chart, what the zoning
Chris,
requires, what you
I'm
are
sorry.
proposing and what you had before, right? Is that,
That may be true, Chris, in terms of you may not have studied it, but you know enough about it to know that this is much bigger.
Yeah, no, and I know that we wouldn't do the project at 98 units, and that's why nothing has been done on this project, because it's not fiscally makes sense. So we didn't study those plans per se. We laid them out to what we do and what makes sense for us to do the project. And, as we've done in, American Tourister, US Rubber, Mills and Coventry and other things. So we lay it out to it doesn't matter, what somebody else did prior. We lay it out to what makes sense for our apartments that we know we can rent and have a successful project. So when I say I didn't study it, we weren't planning to do 98 condos. We laid out per our units, and to what we did, we were keeping all the historic buildings. That's an important feature to us. And really, as I've said many times, it's just to reuse everything that's there. And that's how we laid it out.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking at some of these basement, this is just preliminary, obviously, but on page A01, if you look at the parking spaces, you can bring that up, Diane.
it's right there.
Okay, so in that area, in the dead center of it, with the arrows going up towards the stairway. So, no, down a little bit to your left. Keep going, okay, left, up now, okay, now straight, okay, right there. If you look at those parking spaces right below the cursor, you see those dots at the end of each of those spaces. Those are all columns. So those are tight turn-ins, you know, so these are things we just got to look at during master planning and everything.
Right, and, you know, you know, the way we describe interior parking, something like this, that we have in a good deal of our projects is, you know, those would be assigned spaces. You would, you know, similar to when you go parking in Boston and other parking garages, you know, this space would be yours. You would know how to turn in. You would know how to back in and get into your space to there. But yes, we would be removing some of the columns to make this work. We'd want, you know, obviously to have access and proper flow and everything like that. But as some of you guys saw in American Tourister and how it works, it defines a space.
Okay.
Where are we going with this?
So I think, I don't know, Jerome, if you want to just kind of do a round robin and see if you've gotten all the comments from the board. And then you can
I'm
just.
all done speaking,
Okay,
all done.
you're all done. So I guess, I don't know if anybody else from the board has any comments, but if you're all done with comments, then I guess it would just be to, you know, send the developer off to get to the next iteration with the items that you've asked for tonight, in addition to all the requisites that are on the checklist. So they would just have to come back with master plan and present.
Diane, I have one question. That's to you. Is there any time limit on this now? When's the
No.
clock stop?
No, the clock doesn't start with concept. There's no clock. Concept review is non-binding. It's purely meant for the sharing of information and guidance to the developer.
All right.
And there is no clock on this.
All right.
Thank you for asking, though. That was good to
No.
get out. Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to get caught in the middle of it.
Right.
I'm good to
Well,
move the project along.
I'd like to, you know, I'd like to make a comment. I don't want to send the developer off with the idea that the town of Bristol is not receptive to this, because I think in many ways, Robin Rugg is the last missing tooth in the town with what Brito's doing. And I think it's important that we do everything we can to encourage a profitable project. I mean, so it's one thing to hold somebody's feet to the fire, but if you can't make a buck, you're not gonna do anything. It has to be tilted in favor of the applicant in a situation like this. This is not something that people are lining up to throw money at. This is the white elephant of all white elephants as far as small communities in New England goes. And all you gotta do is look at Fall River and the 370 mills that either got knocked down or burned down because nobody could do anything with them. So we don't need a big empty hole in town. We need this thing filled. That's
All right,
that's
Chuck.
my comment.
I agree with Chuck 100%. Absolutely.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
Me too.
Me too.
Me three.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
I think that was it for the agenda.
Yes, it was.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I hear a motion to adjourn.
I just made it.
second.
I'm in second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You don't have to anyway. But have a good day.
Okay,
And
good
the
night,
ne-
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good luck.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good 4th of July.
Oh, same to you.